Ram trucks built to serve.
Back here, first things first, talking about Tom Brady's latest Instagram post. Check out TB12 putting up some Bucks practice pictures. I have to say, he looks good in orange, Wilds. He had a caption on this that read, okay, all right, bright, colorful, effervescent, if you will. The caption reads, a quarterback must believe in himself. His work must convince his teammates that he can be trusted when all else fails. Nick, do you think Brady's new Bucks receivers trust him inherently?
Oh, yes, absolutely. This is where adding Tom Brady to your team has an immediate inherent value. Is that it's not just that we all in the media acknowledge that he's had the greatest career of any quarterback ever. It's that it is unanimously accepted across the league that he's the greatest to ever play his position. And in an odd way, I would argue that his physical limitations enhance his legend. And by that I mean he gets to it if a player was incredibly fast or an amazing athlete, as they get older, you obviously expect that to deteriorate. Because Brady has never been a combine star or a spark test star, it's always been about preparation and his brain. Those only get better as you get older. So I think guys see him and they have more faith in him than you would a typical 40-something-year-old quarterback. And I think they can immediately learn from him. Listen, I obviously am not bullish on what he's going to be as a player this year, Broussard, but he's going to be so much better for all the players around him because he prepares as well as any player we've ever seen. He has the attention to detail as good as any player we've ever seen, and he commands the respect of the room as well as any player we've ever seen. So in that regard, yeah, I think everyone in the league is drinking the Kool-Aid, certainly the players on his own team, Broussard.
Look, he has all the intangibles, and people get mad when I prop up intangibles. But if you look at the greatest quarterbacks, Joe Montana, it wasn't just physical skills. It was the intangibles. It was what was in between the ears. It was his ability to captivate his teammates and galvanize them and believe in them. That quote from Brady, that's what that says. That shows you what he's about. A lot of quarterbacks wouldn't know to say that, but he said it because that is one of his major strengths. And the fact that, Nick, you brought up an interesting point. It makes some sense about the physical tools. They still think he can do it at 43. Obviously, at some point, no matter how smart you are and all that, you're going to deteriorate because of your age. But the fact that at 43 years old, he's still got all these young guys in Tampa Bay believing in him. They don't think they're getting an old, washed-up has-been. They think they are getting one of the best quarterbacks, not in history, but still in the league. And that is a credit to Brady's intangibles. And that's huge for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Because, look, they were pretty good last year with Jameis Winston throwing all those interceptions. How good will they be this year with a smart quarterback who, while he may not be able to carry them, he certainly won't hurt them?
You know what I think is interesting when you talk about intangibles, Broussard? Do you remember the clip when Brady went up to Lamar and he's like, great job, love everything you're doing, and Lamar's like, you're the GOAT, you're the GOAT. I think that was it was a great moment between quarterbacks. I wonder if it's a little bit weird if I'm a young wide receiver and I'm catching the ball from the greatest quarterback of all time and the ball dives a little bit or the ball's not exactly where it's supposed to be. Maybe it's Brady's getting a little old. Maybe it's because we didn't have any preseason. I wonder if I feel like my voice can be heard in the locker room to criticize Brady or be like, hey, that was a little slow or that was a little bit late. Do you think that him being the GOAT could actually have a negative or a detrimental effect on his relationship with his receivers?
Well, I definitely don't think you're going to hear receivers complaining about it. And I don't think you should, and I don't think that's a negative, though. You don't want if they go to him privately and say, hey, I like it here, You can throw it a little high for me. I'm fine with that. You know, if they go to him privately and talk about it, but to hear guys complaining to the press or complaining in the locker room, that would be detrimental to the team. So I don't think that'll happen out of respect for him.
I also don't just quickly. I also
go ahead, Nick.
Sorry, Jenna. I also don't think guys are typically critical of physical mistakes. If you throw it to the wrong place, if it's supposed to be a 9-yard dig and you throw it like it's supposed to be a 7-yard dig, that's a mental mistake. Brady's not going to make those. He's not going to throw it to the wrong place, make the wrong read. If he just can't make the throw, that's what, like, I don't think guys typically are critical of that. It's when you process the wrong information, which I think was a huge problem with Jameis Winston. And so I understand your point, Wilds, which is guys are there might be a lot of, with the receivers, guys going, my bad, even if it was Brady, exactly, you know, through a duck. But I do think that he's going to be putting them in the right spots, Jenna.
All right, let's move on and talk about Tom Brady's replacement up in New England, most likely. Cam Newton arriving in Boston yesterday. Let's not talk about where the mask is on the face, but the new Patriots quarterback asked some questions and simply answered a la the Patriot way, saying, quote, I'm not talking. He's already adapting all things New England. Nick, what'd you make of this?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Cam is one of the many athletes of his generation that is correctly figured out, and I know it bothers a lot of old school media people, he doesn't need the local media at all. You know how Cam talks to us? On his Instagram page, and he does it all the time. And he asks himself, with respect, better questions, sometimes in the third person, than often local reporters or national reporters would. So I got no problem with this whatsoever. I feel like Cam has been Wilds as transparent as any athlete I can remember throughout this process. And the fact that he didn't want to talk while he was at the airport, fresh off the plane, maybe wanted to do a little social distancing, like, I got no beef with that whatsoever, whether it's a Patriot way or just the Cam way. Of course not.
No, he's just focused on winning. He realized that there's no value to setting the expectations so high like another team in the NFL who's consistently taking every opportunity to talk about how they're going to have a dynasty for the next 5 years, 10 years. The Chiefs are supposed to win, according to the latest report, up to 7 rings in the next 10 years. I don't know how long the dynasty, maybe it's multiple decades like the Patriots, Nick. So I like this out of Cam, and I don't need to hear any dynasty talk out of Kansas City while we're at it.
Look, I don't know that this had anything to do with the Patriot way. I think Cam is going to have plenty to say in New England when the time is right. As Nick said, he's been talking plenty on Instagram. He's the lion. He's the king of the jungle. He's hungry, all that stuff. He'll say similar things, I think, when he gets to New England. But the bottom line is he got to get it done on the field.
Also, by the way, I don't know if you noticed, but Jenna Wolfe, who's been holding out hope against hope that Stidham could win that job, Jenna Wolfe just called Cam Newton Tom Brady's replacement in the tease. She said moving on from Tom Brady to his replacement.
I said,
Jenna, a little Freudian slip. Little Freudian slip.
I said likely.
That Cam Newton's going to be the starter there. I'm just telling you, Jenna, I noticed it. America noticed it. I'm just